Hey guys, today we're talking about proportions. Proportions are two equivalent ratios or rates, and they are written as fractions with an equal sign in between. So, in order to figure out if something is proportionate, then we need to make sure that they are equivalent fractions. Okay, looking at this one, I know that if I had 2/4 of something, I have a half. Okay, that's a pretty simple one. So we're going to use this one to help us understand cross products a little bit better. So go ahead and draw this in your notebook or on your piece of paper and make sure that you put these circles around it. Okay, the big thing here is that it forms an equivalent. So we are going to multiply 2 times 2 and 1 times 4. When we do that, we get 4 for both. If you take and you multiply the numerator of one with the denominator of the other, you should get the same as if you multiply the numerator of the other one and the denominator of the other. So in this case, we can prove that 2/4 equals 1/2 through cross products just by multiplying and seeing that they both equal 4. Let's look at another example like that. Okay, 4/5 and 20/25. I know we can do it the old 6th grade way and say that 4 times 5 equals 20 and 5 times 5 equals 25, so they're proportionate. But let's use the new way with cross products. Let's take 4 times 25 and 5 times 20. Well, 4 25s is 100 and 5 times 20 is also 100. So these form a proportion. Okay, your turn. Is this a proportion? Go ahead and use cross products to prove whether or not it's a proportion, and I'll be back in just a second to show you what I did. Okay, 3 times 6 is 18, and 2 times 8 is 16, so we know this is not a proportion. Because if I have 3/8 of something versus essentially 1/3, those are not equivalents. Okay, so now what can we do with this information? We can solve for unknowns. For example, if we wanted to figure out if I had 3/6, how many pieces, or what would the size of my pieces be if I had 9 pieces, we can figure that out through cross products. Now I know you know the 6th grade way, 3 times 3 equaling 9, and then 6 times 3 equaling 18. But we're going to use cross products. So we know the answer is 18. Let's see how we get there. 3 times an unknown equaling 54. So 3 times what number gives me 54? If you can't think of the number right off the bat, well then divide this number by 3 and we get 18. So we can figure out missing pieces with cross products. Again, the steps are to multiply and get that number, and then divide by the one that's paired with the unknown. Go ahead and try these two for me, and I will be back in just a second to show you what I did. Okay, you should have drawn your circles on both of them like so. So now we know 6 times 4 needs to be equal to 3 times my unknown, and this time the unknown is called k because k is a variable. Okay, so we get 24 here equaling 3 times some unknown. Well, if I can't think of 3 times 8 equaling 24, I just divide by 3 and my unknown equals 8. So when I look at this one, 6/8 is the same as 3/4. So k equals 8. Over here we have y times 3 equaling 45 times 1. Ooh, yay, that one's easy. 45 times 1 is just 45. So what number times 3 gives me 45? If I don't know, I can divide both by 3 and y equals 15. So 15 out of 45 is the same as 1/3. So in this case, we're using a variable instead of a question mark. You can use a variable to represent any number, especially in situations with unknowns. So that's why we're using it here. Okay, so let's look at a situation. The ratio of boys to girls is 10 to 8. There are 15 boys in the class. How many are girls? Set up a proportion. Okay, when I'm looking at problem solving, I need to underline my question, okay? The question is asking how many girls, and I always circle the key part of the question that I need. So do this with me now. I want to make sure that you have this one written down on your paper and that circled, okay? Now, the ratio of boys to girls is 10 to 8. So with boys, there are 10, and I'm going to draw a line to that one. With girls, there are 8. So I'm going to draw a line to that one. Again, pause the video and do this with me. There are 15 boys in the class. Okay, I'm going to circle this and I'm going to write in boys because it's over here. So we know there are 15 boys. And we're trying to figure out the girls. So the first thing that we can do is set up the proportion to be boys versus girls, okay? We're going to put the boys in the numerator and the girls in the denominator. So if I were writing the ratio, it would be 10 to 8. Now, what is the piece of information that I know? I know that there are 15 boys in the class. What don't I know? I don't know how many girls. So if the boys were in the numerator to begin with, then they need to stay in the numerator in my next ratio. And then my question mark or my variable goes in the bottom. We're going to use G to represent girls. Okay, so now we can cross product. 10 times the number of girls that we don't know is equal to 15 times 8. Okay, so 10 times G equaling 120. What number times 10 gives us 120? If you can't figure it out, then divide 120 by 10, and we get 12. So there are 12 girls. Did we then answer the question? How many girls? There are 12 girls. So we did. We can move on. Okay, so let's look at this one. Yesterday you bought 8 folders for $4. Today you need to buy 5 more folders. How much will 5 folders cost? Okay, so I set it up for you. We've got the money on top and the folders on the bottom. Trust me, I'll show you in class why the money always needs to be on top. But will you please put money over items? Ooh, I don't know why it turned blue. and put that in your notebook and star it, bubble it, whatever you need to do, because that's important. So let's go through and underline our question. How much will 5 folders cost? I'm going to circle the 5 so I know I'm looking at folders. Okay, now I'm going to circle all other key information. 8 for 4, and I need to buy 5 more. So $4 for 8 folders. How many for 5? What do? Set up a proportion and solve using cross products. 4 times 5 equaling an unknown times 8. So we have 8 unknowns equaling 20. So divide by 8. And do you see how we're not going to get a nice easy answer this time? That's where your calculator comes in. 20 divided by 8. It goes in evenly 2 times. And then we're going to have 5 tenths left over. But we're talking about money, so we need that other placeholder for the for the hundredths place. So how much will 5 folders cost? They will cost $2.50. Okay, for these ones, I want you to write tricky above them. Okay? In our class, the ratio of boys to girls, okay, so boys is 5, girls is 7. If there are 36 students in our class, how many of those are girls? Okay, so let's look at this. We know we have 7 boys. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 boys. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 girls. Okay, 5 girls plus 7 boys equals how many students? 12. This is why it's tricky. They give you a ratio of 5 to 7. 5 boys, 7 girls. But then all of a sudden they ask you about students. Well, they don't tell us students. They tell us boys and girls. But we can assume that these girls and these boys are all representative of another category called students. So instead of writing the ratio of 5 to 7, we're going to look at what they want. They want girls. So we know there are 7 girls out of how many students? 12. Okay, and we need to figure out how many out of 36. So now we can solve. You can either use a proportion or you can or your 6th grade way. Okay, in this case, 12 to 36 is times 3, right? So all I need to do is take 7 times 3 and I get 21 girls and I'm done. If this would have been hard to do the 6th grade way, then I would use cross products, 12 times x and 7 times 36. But clearly, this way is easier. Go ahead and try this one, and I'll be back in just a second to show you what I did. Okay, the ratio of dogs to cats is 6 to 11. Okay, so we've got 6 dogs and 11 cats, so we have 17 animals, right? They tell us that there are 51 at this doggy daycare. How many cats are there? So we know cats represents 11 out of 17 animals. Cats, animals. And we know that there are 51 dogs and cats, so that's 51 animals. So we just don't know this top number. Let's use X to represent that. So do we know a nice easy number to get from 17 to 51? If you don't, use your calculator and multiply 11 times 51 equaling 17 times an unknown. So 561 divided by 17, our unknown equals 33. So there are 33 cats. Did we answer their question of how many cats there are? Yes, we did. And that's all I have for you today. See you next time.